Hi guys, welcome to Dubs Only Sports. Before we get into anything, make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Dubs Only Sports. And then if you want to watch the full episodes, make sure to catch those on Spotify and YouTube by looking up Dubs Only Sports. We also post shorts on YouTube, so make sure to look at that. This is episode 20, our 28th episode. Praise. And first and foremost, we have been seeing a lot of things on Instagram in particular about how the NFL draft is going to go. And I feel like most importantly are the QBs coming out of college. So as of right now, we're kind of going to go through the college quarterbacks that are entering the NFL draft this year. And I feel like one of the most shocking ones, especially for me, is this kid named Will Levis out of Kentucky. Like, I personally don't get it. Like, yes,
Oh,
Kentucky were like, Kentucky did some things this year and were in the top, they were in the top 10 at one point.
yeah.
And like I can understand that, but I like throughout the entire thing, Will Levis was not a name that really popped up all that often. So the fact
Oh,
that
yeah.
now, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't really get it at all. I mean, I saw him. I mean, early in the year, Kentucky was ranked pretty highly, but then they lost a ton of games at the end of the year, so they kind of fell off. But I never really understood it because, like, CJ Bryce Young won the Heisman last year. CJ Stroud is clearly one of the best quarterbacks. He was in Heisman contention this whole year, and then lost at the end to Caleb Williams. But then Will Levis was kind of just there the whole year as like one of those talented quarterbacks alongside Anthony Richardson for Florida. That was like really talented, and everyone thought he was going to get drafted highly in the NFL. But now it's like his hype is going to another level. I mean, everyone's projecting him, not everyone, but like a lot of people are projecting him to be like the number one pick in the draft and go to either
Yeah.
like the Colts or the Texans. And like, I really don't get it. I mean, honestly, he might just be the next Zach Wilson. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Will Levis just turns into the next like Zach Wilson. I mean, it's the same kind of thing where like it's this quarterback in college that's at a smaller football school. Zach Wilson was at BYU. Will Levis is at Kentucky. Both were considered very talented QBs with all the arm talent, all the skills, all the tools. And then we see a lot that doesn't always translate to the NFL. I mean, Josh Allen was kind of similar to this, and like he was kind of raw, but then he's performed very well in the NFL. But if you look at most of the quarterbacks that have succeeded in the NFL, Trevor Lawrence knew he was going to be good. Joe Burrow ever knew he was going to be good, and he won in college. Deshaun Watson was very good before the whole crazy incident that he was whatever. And then we look at Mahomes, even though he wasn't winning in college, he was putting up insane numbers and he had all the talent in the world. So he wasn't like he wasn't winning, but he wasn't playing badly, and he had one of the worst defenses in college, and he clearly had all the talent in the world. He put up like 60 points on Oklahoma. And then I mean, I don't really get this Will Levis hype. I mean, Bryce Young literally won the Heisman last year and was considered one of the best quarterbacks in this whole year, and has won like he's one of the most accurate passers. He can maneuver on the pocket. He's very poised, and he can scramble. He has very good legs, and like he just seems so comfortable in the pocket, and he seems so mature. He has like a very high football intellect. And on the other side, CJ Stroud, you saw what he did against Georgia, the same Georgia team that absolutely annihilated TCU. He dominated that Georgia team and was clearly the better quarterback to Stetson Bennett.
Hmm.
Had an amazing game. He's clearly one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's one of the best passers in the country. And then now out of nowhere, Will Levis is getting all this hype because like he's a tall quarterback. He has a big arm talent, blah blah. There's all these viral videos about him throwing the ball very well. But the same kind of thing happened with Zach Wilson, where they had all these viral videos of him throwing the ball well. And look at Zach Wilson now; he's probably going to get kicked out of the NFL because he's so trash. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
always translate. I mean, it's like I don't really understand it. I mean, I don't know what you think, but I don't get it.
I just think it's like typical like NFL draft hype. I mean, it
Yeah,
literally happens every year, and I feel like people just like forget about that. And then like
yeah.
some of the reporters are genuinely so stupid to the point where they like believe this crap. And not worse than the reporters are the GMs who are like, "Oh, we need this guy."
Yeah.
No, you don't.
Like when the Raiders drafted the Clemson defensive end like Cleveland Farrell fourth overall, and he was projected to go in like the second round, and I'm like, you have the fourth overall pick. Even if you want that guy, you can draft him in the second round. Same thing with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is actually playing well this year, and
Hmm.
he's kind of similar to Will Levis in the sense that they're both like these quarterbacks at smaller schools that weren't performing great in college but had a lot of upside and potential. But the
Hmm.
Giants could have gotten Daniel Jones in the late first round or early second round. They used the number 6 overall pick on him, it might turn out to be a good pick, but you could have got better value for him. So I feel like it just the media really pushes ahead a narrative. It's like with Baker Mayfield, no one considered him the number one overall pick that whole year. It was Sam Darnold. It was Lamar Jackson was playing well that year. It was Josh Rosen. There's all these different guys that were ahead of Baker Mayfield, and then he played well at the end of the year. He did well in the playoff. He lost the game, but he had a really good performance, and everyone just said, "Oh, Baker Mayfield, the number one overall pick. How's that turned out for the Browns?"
Yeah.
So, I mean, none of those quarterbacks are great besides Lamar Jackson, who was the fifth one taken in that draft.
Yeah.
But it just, it's kind of crazy how the whole year there's this whole picture of who's going to get drafted, and then after the season, all the like draft boards come out, and then it just totally flips to how everything is seen. It just doesn't make sense to me because you're actually watching the games, and then when they don't play the games anymore, why are you changing your minds when there's no games being played? Like you know what kind of player they are.
Yeah. Like we say a lot of crazy stuff. And
Yeah,
like a lot of like a lot of the things that a lot of these reporters say is literally like just publicity stunts. Like to be
yeah.
fair.
It
And
makes
it's
no sense.
like the fact that we're not even saying it should like
Yeah.
go a long
Yeah,
way.
and the fact that we're like these people should like be
These are
credible and
professionals.
should they're professionals. They're supposed to be providing the best information, and for them to like be going along with all this crazy stuff that's just being thrown out there for like literally no reason. Like Will Levis might turn out to be a great quarterback, but if you look at his game log this year, Georgia and Tennessee were very good teams this year, but his team put up 6 points against both of those teams.
Hmm.
Okay. So in against Georgia, he was 20 of 31, 206 yards, one touchdown, one pick. And against Tennessee, he had 98 passing yards and three interceptions. And Tennessee's defense was not that impressive. So everyone wants to hype him up and say, like, blah, 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 he's one of the best quarterbacks. Fine. But I don't get it. I mean, this year, he threw for 2,400 yards, which
Yeah.
was 71st in the nation, nothing special, 19 touchdowns, and 10 picks. So he has a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He has a 60 QBR, which is not that great. I mean, nothing that he did was that great. It wasn't like he was playing amazing. I mean, I mean, everyone's gonna say he's 6'3", 230. He has all the tools. He has the arm, this, that, that. I mean, isn't it about like who actually is the best quarterback and who actually wins you games and not like, oh, the stature? I mean, everyone is going to say, oh, Justin Herbert is one of the exceptions where he didn't win the most in college, but he won the Rose Bowl. He was on
Yep.
10-win teams consistently, and he played well. He was clearly a good quarterback, and I just don't understand like some of these guys that get hyped, like Zach Wilson and then Mitchell Trubisky made no sense, and just some of these moves is just like weird. I mean, even Trey Lance, we'll see how it works out, but Trey Lance just drafted third overall. Like everyone thought he was gonna be mid first round, and then Trey Lance drafted third overall. He's gotten hurt, so no one really knows his talent right now. He might be an amazing quarterback, but no one
I
really
mean, the
knows.
49ers clearly saw something in him because he was the
Yeah,
starter at the beginning of the year.
yeah.
So
But they also said that they were thinking of picking either him or Mac Jones. And you look at Mac Jones right now. I don't think Mac Jones is a bad quarterback. I just think the Patriots offense and their system for offense is really not that good. And I feel like in a better system, he might be playing better. But
mhm.
even he has not played well. And he had one of the best college seasons ever after Joe Burrow's year. He had one of the best seasons in college football ever. So I don't know. I don't really understand this whole Will Levis thing. Everyone is saying that he should be the number one overall pick. Not everyone, but a lot of people are saying he should be the number one overall pick. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I'm taking Bryce Young
Yep.
over even CJ Stroud. I'm taking Bryce Young and CJ Stroud head and shoulders above Will Levis in this draft. Both
Hmm.
of those QBs, I know Ohio State QBs don't really turn out great in the NFL, but we've seen that Justin Fields is having a good year. I mean, he's more of a running quarterback now, but in college, he definitely had a good arm and he definitely has potential to like grow his arm in the NFL and get better and become a good passer because he was a good passer in college. Just he needs the right weapons around him.
Hmm.
But we look at I don't know. I feel like Bryce Young is just he's like he literally reminds me of Drew Brees. I think if anyone is gonna give a comp, I think that Bryce Young reminds me of Drew Brees just because he's so accurate. I know he's a shorter quarterback, but he can maneuver on the pocket. He's more mobile than Drew Brees, and he just has he's pinpoint accuracy. He throws it exactly where he wants to throw it, and he's just smart with the football.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like what a lot of people fail to realize is that the quarterbacks who like don't get like that much hype are the ones who end up like doing really well. Like I can make an argument for Lamar Jackson. Everyone knew Lamar Jackson coming out of Louisville, but like you said, he was up against, Sam Darnold, Josh
Darnold, Josh
Rosen.
Rosen, yeah, Baker Mayfield,
And so, like everyone was hyping up like those players, but then when
yeah,
Lamar Jackson was drafted fifth out of all of those, he's the one who's ended up doing better. You even look at
by
guys like
far.
You even look at guys like Tom Brady, who was like God
Yeah,
knows what draft pick he was, but he wasn't in the first round, and he definitely wasn't in the
yeah,
second round either. He was just one of the later ones. And you look at this year, Brock Purdy, Mr.
yeah,
Irrelevant. Like I knew who Brock Purdy was. I knew he was
yeah.
quarterback at Iowa State, but
We didn't know he was gonna be. Yeah,
we didn't know he was
we
gonna.
didn't
We
know he
didn't
was
even
gonna
know
be
if he was
like
gonna
this.
play.
Yeah,
We
we
didn't
didn't
know
think
he
he
was
was going
gonna
to play because he was a
play.
third string. He was a third string quarterback. I mean, even you look at Dak Prescott is whatever you want to say about him. He's a decent NFL quarterback. He's a solid star, not star, but like solid NFL quarterback. And he was drafted in the fourth round. I
Patrick
mean,
Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes was drafted like 15th overall, and he's the greatest quarterback talent ever. So I don't. Even Aaron Rodgers dropped down to like the mid 20s. I mean, it's just I don't. Yeah, I'm a little perplexed by this. I think we both agree that Bryce Young or CJ Stroud should go number one overall if the Texans or Colts trade up to get that pick, and
Hmm.
if a team that needs a quarterback wants him, because we both think that CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are the two best quarterbacks in this draft. But
Hmm.
some people think that Will Levis should be the number one overall pick. But we'll see. I mean, again, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Will Levis is the next Zach Wilson because I don't get it. I
Yeah.
mean, if he gets put in a good system with good receivers and a good offensive line, he might be able to succeed. But if you goes to the Texans, he's not going to get that. Everyone's saying, oh, he's played in an NFL system in college. It
Yeah.
doesn't always translate like that. Like Drew Lock was really highly coveted out of college. He's not even a starter anymore. He the Broncos took him out. The Broncos drafted like all these guys, all these first round quarterbacks, and none of them turned out well. I mean, you just look at all these teams and they draft these first round quarterbacks and they don't turn out well because they don't have a good system around them. So even if they're talented, it doesn't mean like some quarterbacks can outperform their surroundings, but a lot
Yeah.
of quarterbacks, it just depends on what system they go to and what surroundings they have to support them. And since these quarterbacks are going to be drafted so high in the draft, they're going to go to bad teams.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have good surroundings. So I just don't know. I think you have to trust the people that actually have won in the past and actually shown it to you in the past, and than projecting something that hasn't happened yet and just hoping it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like, typical draft hype for just
Yeah,
random players that, you may or may not have heard of, but they're like, there's nothing special compared to like other players that have been in college. And we're not saying that like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are going to do like amazing things
they
where
don't
they
have to.
get to the
They might not be
NFL.
great.
They might
Yeah,
not be, but it's just like, the fact that this happens every year where just a random player just seems to be plucked out of the little
yeah,
NFL draft pool just to, cause some hype for genuinely it seems like no reason. So, yeah.
yeah. That is that. Now we're gonna start talking about more about college football, not as much about the NFL, but Deion Sanders. One of the biggest storylines in college football is that Deion Sanders has taken the job at Colorado, and he's been making some moves. I mean, I think they're like one of the top teams in the transfer portal. They've been getting tons of transfers. I think they've gotten 20 plus transfers. They got Travis Hunter.
They recently got the number one quarterback in the
Yeah,
class of 2022 and the number
yeah,
one cornerback in the class of
class of
2023.
23. Yeah, so they got Travis Hunter, who committed to Jackson State last year, played for Jackson State under Deion Sanders, and now he commits to Colorado. Then they got the number one cornerback in the country for 2023. So they have the number one cornerback for both 2022 and 2023.
Mm-hmm.
They have definitely a lot of talent in the secondary. And they got Shedeur Sanders from Jackson State. He's transferring to Colorado. So they have their quarterback. So they look like they're going to be better than they were last year. I think last year they were abysmal, but they should be better. But the Pac-12 this year is going to be very difficult. I mean, UCLA, USC, Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, and Washington all look like top 25 teams this year.
Yep.
They all were good last year. They're all going to be good again this year. They all have solid quarterbacks that are going to be probably top 20 to 30 quarterbacks in the country. So they have a lot of good teams in the Pac-12. And I feel like it's gonna be tough for Colorado to succeed this year, but we're gonna go through the Colorado schedule and pick the games and see how many games they potentially could win in Deion Sanders' first year. I mean, we both like the Deion Sanders move and think that in the future they're going to be a good program. We're just going to see
Mm-hmm.
this year it's going to be tougher because the competition that they're going to have to face and turning a 1 win team into like a 10 win team in a season is almost impossible. But we're going to go through it and see what we think about each game on their schedule. So they open it up here. Let me pull up the schedule. They open it up, of course, at TCU, the defending national championship appearance team that got absolutely clobbered by the Georgia Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
At TCU, I think we both agree they're probably going to lose this game. It's in TCU. You think that Colorado's going to go to TCU and win next year?
I mean,
It's in TCU, dude.
I
It's in
understand that.
TCU.
I've been hating on TCU a lot recently. I'll be fair, and
Dude.
part of me wants to give TCU fans a break because Lord have mercy. But whatever. I proved my point, and it is what it is. TCU at the end of the day are a decent team, not one of the best teams in the nation, like it was said by the College Football Playoff Committee, but still a decent team. They're basically going into next year with more or less the same team. So maybe,
They've lost a lot of
maybe
they've lost a lot of weapons on offense. And, like they've lost a lot of guys. They're not going to be as good as as they were last year. I mean, to go undefeated until the last game of the year, but I just
I
think
feel like this is Colorado's, it's Deion Sanders' first game with a, powerhouse team, with a Power 5 team. And TCU being another Power 5 team, it's a good introduction into
yeah,
what it will be like for Colorado. And I feel like one of two things will happen. And unfortunately, it both results in Colorado losing. One is that it'll be like a close game, and like Deion Sanders coaching and his experience with football will just allow him to carry this team to at least a decent game against TCU. Or it'll just be completely different from what he saw at Jackson State. I mean, you're dealing with a bunch of HBCU schools, which definitely don't match up anywhere near the competition of these Power 5 schools, because they were just Jackson State were undefeated year in and year out because they were playing teams that really didn't show up. But then they go into their bowl game this year and they played
they lost. Yeah, they lost to like
like,
North Carolina Central. They just don't
yeah.
have the talent. The talent that they have is not comparable to the Power Five. I mean, the Power Five schools, they have more resources. They have they just have a lot more resources, so they're able to finance their programs more, and they're able to get better players because of the name recognition. But
Mhm.
well, he did a good job at Jackson State. They were very good both years he was there, but I think it's gonna be
Yeah.
tough for him to just go to a Power Five school and succeed immediately because the competition he's gonna face is gonna be very good. So
And
I feel like
especially
this first
because
game
like
is an
he's
L.
bringing all these Jackson State players with him. I feel like that's part of the problem, is that like, he's bringing the team that was with him in Jackson State to
No, but they have a lot
Colorado.
of good. They have a lot of good players. I mean, they have a
They
lot of
do.
like
Don't get
four
me
and five
wrong.
star players.
They do, but it's like the thing is that it's not only Deion Sanders coaching against Power 5 schools for the first time, it's his players playing against Power 5 schools for the
No, they're
first
gonna
time.
need to. They're gonna. I feel like there's gonna be a little lag time. The first few games, I feel like it's gonna take some time for the Jackson State, the transfers, and for Dion to adjust to coaching and playing in the Power Five. I think that yes, the competition that they face in Jackson State is not gonna be the same as they're gonna face now, and they might struggle in the first few games of the year. But once they get adjusted, they have a lot of talent. They have a ton of 5 stars, a ton of four
Mhm.
stars. They'll
Yeah.
be good enough to compete. It just I feel like that's why at TCU the first game of the year I feel like they're gonna lose because it's the beginning of the year. They still need to get adjusted. Dion needs to get adjusted. The players need to get adjusted. They have a lot of talent, but they're kind of raw.
Yeah, I think, like the TCU game will be a huge wake-up call for
Yeah,
Colorado. And then that will then bleed into their Nebraska game, which is their
yeah.
second game of the season. And I think they will just come out guns blazing, first home game.
I think they're gonna win that,
I don't see how Colorado loses. I don't see how Colorado lets Nebraska score like more than 20 points that game.
especially because Nebraska has had a very bad couple of years that's leading up into this, and they've been really bad recently. So I just feel like Colorado, they have a lot of momentum with their program. They have a lot of talent. They're getting all these transfers. I feel like last year they really struggled, but this year they're gonna be able to put it together to some degree, and they're gonna to bounce back after what we're assuming is a TCU loss. We think that um they're gonna have that loss, they're gonna learn from it, and they're gonna come out, as he said, just firing in the second game, tons of energy, first home game under Deion Sanders. And just I feel like they'll win that game pretty easily. I mean, at home against Nebraska, a team that struggled for the last few years, I think that the Colorado Buffaloes will come out that game and look pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I just feel like that's what should happen, assuming that they lose their
Yeah.
first game to TCU. And
And then the
then
third game,
third game is against
Colorado
Colorado
State.
State. I
Yeah,
mean, I feel like,
they should
okay,
win
I feel
that.
like, yes, they're gonna win, but I feel like the important thing, and as an Oregon fan, I look at these kinds of games more than anything else, because these are the games where you shouldn't only win, but you should like be blowing these
Dominate.
teams out of
Yeah.
the water. And if you are not dominating these teams, then you should be concerned. You look at the UCLA South Alabama game last year. I mean, it was literally a 1 point game. That is not good. If I was a
Oh,
UCLA fan, I would have been worried. But as an
I
Oregon
was
fan,
worried. I was worried.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And as an Oregon fan, because these are essentially like preseason games, essentially,
Yeah, they're
because you're
supposed to
not
build
playing.
you up. Yeah,
Exactly. It gives you like some idea as to what you're working with, what works, what doesn't work. So that by the time you get into the conference play, you know what you're doing. And so as an Oregon fan last year, we played Eastern Washington and scored what, like 70 points against
70
them.
point. Yeah,
That is
that's
what
what
I
you're
look
supposed to
out
do.
for. That's what I
Yeah,
look out for. And you keep your starters on, even though it's a cupcake team, even though it's a cookie matchup, you keep your starters on. You put your best team out there for 60 minutes and see how many points you can score, how well they do. Make sure that they don't let up as well. If you're up by 40, 50 points, you got to keep scoring. You
no,
can't have any
you
mercy
gotta
for these
you gotta
teams.
get into a rhythm. You gotta get into a rhythm so that when you play the bigger teams, like the next game they have at Oregon, they need to be ready for that game. And I
Yeah,
think transitioning
exactly.
into that game, that I can almost
That's
guarantee
why
is
they
going to be
need
an
it.
L.
That's why they need a big win against Colorado
Yeah,
State to at least
they
give
need
them
that win
some
against.
leverage.
Yeah, they need to get that. They need to get that 2-1 record heading into Oregon. They need to
Yeah.
just have some confidence. But to go to Austin Stadium with Bo Nix returning all the 5 stars, I just think that's going to be too tough. I think that's self-explanatory. I think the Oregon's going to win. I don't think there's much to say about that. I think
Yeah.
that's just an Oregon W. Then they play USC at home, and I feel like this is an interesting game. But it's USC. Caleb Williams is coming back. The receivers are mostly back. Jordan Addison left, but they replaced him with the Arizona wide receiver Dorian Singer. So they're super talented. They have one of the best offenses in the country. Lincoln
Mhm.
Riley's second year. I think USC is going to come in there and put up 50 points and win. So I feel like that's kind
Really?
of tough for college. I think, yeah, I think that's a wrap. I
I
mean,
don't know. I feel like, being at Autzen Stadium against Oregon as your first Pac-12 game of the year, that sucks. And I feel like they're just gonna have to accept the
yeah,
L however it comes to them.
yeah,
But having USC off of that and then going to Arizona State and then Stanford at home, I feel like those three games potentially, I'm not saying they could win. I'm not saying that they're going to beat USC, and I'm not even saying that they could beat Arizona State because Arizona State at Sun Devil Stadium
not
is something
good.
you never want to do.
No, you don't want to go there. You do
You
not. And
never want to go there. You never want
that
to go to
place
Sun
is
Devil Stadium.
they're the Sun Devils. That place is hell. I mean, you do
Yeah,
not want to be there. That place is where your dreams go to die. Oregon was about to make the playoff a few years ago, and they just went to Arizona State and got clobbered by a
I
below
know better than
500 team.
anybody.
I mean,
I know
Arizona
better than
State's a menacing
anybody.
team, but I just think it's gonna be tough for Deion in the first year to. I mean, this schedule is a brutal schedule. I mean,
I
this
mean, the
is
Pac-12
brutal.
has become a
Yeah,
better conference, and the fact that USC and
yeah,
UCLA are leaving, it just doesn't make
yeah,
sense. We're a good
yeah,
conference, and now they're leaving. Like, come on,
yeah,
seriously?
yeah. But it's yeah. So I feel like I'm gonna take USC to beat Colorado. What are
Mhm.
you gonna say?
I mean, like it's all the way like it's basically like in October. It's like the end of September. So,
Uh-huh.
like to have a prediction right now, it's like,
Make a
you
damn
know,
pick, bro. We can pick this game later, bro. Make a
if
damn pick.
if I'm making a pick, I kind of like Colorado at
Bro,
home.
what the insane,
Kind of
dude.
like it because I would
Oh,
it's more about, and maybe it's not about like I
you
think
just want
Colorado.
this to happen. You just want this to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. It's
And
it's not necessarily
shut up.
it's
Just
not
shut up.
necessarily that I think
This is
Colorado
not
will
gonna happen.
win. It's
Okay.
just like it would be good momentum for them. Like I because I
Okay,
want
fine.
I want Colorado to be successful this year. I want Coach
Yeah, but
Dion to be
I do
successful.
too. But I just don't think this year it's gonna be the year for them. Next year, yes.
Okay,
This
so
year it's gonna be
USC,
tough.
fine, fine. USC, they
USC,
will they will lose at
yeah.
Colorado against USC.
And
Arizona
then
State,
I don't know about it. I think that's an L too. I mean, I'm not
that's
even gonna
that's what
lie.
I'm saying.
It's gonna be a 2-4 start for
That's why they
Dion
would
at
need the
Colorado.
momentum against USC, and if
But
it's
it's
not
okay.
there,
But then
then
they
they're
go to Stanford
losing.
after.
That's
They'll
easy
beat
clap.
Stanford at home. So that's
And then a bye
three and a
week,
four
a
record.
rest against UCLA.
No, no. Then
That's
they have a bye week. Then they have to go to UCLA with Dante Moore, Sturdivant. They just got forward from USC. Our wide receivers are crazy. We just got the best running back, one of the best running back transfers in the country. He led the nation in yards after contact. Our offense is lethal. Our defense is absolutely abysmal.
I
But we're gonna get this W. I don't
I
hear anything
literally
about
can't
Colorado.
shrug any harder by all the statements you made because who cares? It doesn't matter, you know?
Who cares like Oregon, bro? Oregon was just as bad as UCLA last year, so I don't hear any of
No,
that.
we're not.
The same exact regular
45,
season record. I don't
45,
hear
30
anything.
ring a bell. Does 45, 30 ring a bell to you? Because it rings a bell
In
for me.
Austin Stadium, a
45,
lot of
30,
talk, a lot of
45,
talk,
30 rings a
a lot of
bell.
talk, a lot of talk.
No,
But it's okay.
the bye week before the UCLA game going into the Rose Bowl, huge. Huge.
It's
That's the
in
only
it's
reason why
at
they'll beat
UCLA.
UCLA. Doesn't matter. Your fans
You said
don't
they're gonna
show
beat
up.
us.
Your fans don't show up. We went
You
to
just said,
three.
wait,
We
pause,
went to
pause,
three
pause,
UCLA
pause,
games. No, 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 no.
pause,
Shut up.
pause.
Shut up.
No,
Shut
no,
up.
no,
Shut up.
pause, pause. You're saying that Colorado is gonna
Yes.
go to UCLA and beat
Yes.
UCLA next year.
Off of the bye week.
Oh my
Yes.
God. You've lost your mind,
I
Will.
haven't. I haven't.
You've
Watch it
lost your
happen.
mind.
Watch it happen. Chip Kelly
Oh
doesn't have
my
anything
God.
on Deion. We're gonna go to that game. We are gonna go to that game.
Yeah.
We Hey guys, we're gonna vlog that Colorado UCLA. I promise you, we will
Oh
vlog that
my
game.
God. Dude, that's crazy, bro. You actually think that Colorado's gonna come to UCLA? But I can just assure you guys that is not gonna happen.
You have no
UCLA,
fans. It's not even a home field
we don't need
advantage.
fans. We beat Utah without fans. We almost beat USC without fans. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Almost.
We beat Washington. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We win the damn games. So I don't hear any of that. That's some cap right there. Colorado is gonna be struggling coming. No, no,
They're
no.
not gonna be struggling.
Don,
They're gonna come off a
Dante
Stanford
Moore.
dominant win.
All I want to say is Dante Moore is the truth,
Oh
and
my God,
all his
Dante
tape.
Moore is going to be a freshman in college.
It doesn't matter. He's
Tell
better
me
than
how many
Shador
freshmen
Sanders.
in
He's
college
better than the
actually
college.
do well
It doesn't matter. Caleb Williams did well. So
as a freshman at Big 12. Hello, we're talking about the
man,
Pac-12 where there are six
it,
dominant teams. The Big 12 is
Dante
garbage.
Moore is like the Pac-12 defenses are terrible. I don't hear anything with the Pac-12 defense. They're atrocious. I don't hear any of this cap. This is insane. Colorado was 1-11 last year. You think they're just gonna turn it around like that and become like a stud team? No,
I literally
it's
have
gonna
them
take
losing to
time.
Oregon, USC, and Arizona State back to back.
Yeah, you think that they're gonna go to Arizona State and lose, and then they're gonna come to UCLA and win? Hell no, that's not happening. I
But
don't hear
that's not
any of this.
happening because they're going to Stanford. They're going back to Colorado to
Okay,
play
that's
Stanford and
fine.
then taking a
No,
week
no,
off.
no. Okay, then they go at home against Oregon State. Oregon State Oregon State at Colorado. Oregon State's supposed to be very good next year,
I can see
but
that as an upset.
I can see Colorado winning that game. I can see Colorado beating Oregon State at home. Oregon State they had a good year last
Mhm.
year, but DJU's the quarterback now. I just their offense was so putrid that I don't understand how they won any game. I mean, their quarterback last year was atrocious. They had a good run game, they had a good defense. I think this team's a little bit fluky. I think they got a little lucky with their schedule last year. They had a few lucky games. They shouldn't have beaten Oregon. They shouldn't have beat Stanford. They easily could have been a 7-5 team. So I don't really buy into the whole Oregon State thing. I just think that Colorado at home after losing at UCLA is going to have some motivation. But I think that Oregon State can win, or I think that Colorado can win at home against Oregon State.
I think what you need to look out for that Oregon State Colorado matchup is the fact that you are saying that Colorado will be entering that game as a 4-loss team, right? Fair. Okay. Which means that they will
Five
not
loss
be
team.
5.
Five. They or let's see, TCU, Oregon, USC, Arizona State, and UCLA. Five
Okay,
loss.
so 4 or 5 loss team, right?
Yeah.
So so you're saying that they're going to a 4 they're going into the Oregon State game as a 4 or 5 loss team, right? And
They're gonna be 3-5. 3-5 going
three and
into
five,
Oregon
right?
State.
So no, there's no way that they're going to be ranked, right? We can agree on that. They won't be
They won't be
ranked,
ranked.
right?
No, no.
Oregon State going into that matchup will probably only be a a two maybe 1 loss team,
I don't care.
and they will be
They're
ranked.
undefeated. I don't care if they're undefeated. I don't care if they're ranked number one. They're not. No, I don't care.
Now,
I don't care.
Oregon State ranked is a different breed. Again, from experience as
Well,
an
it's just that you guys
Oregon
choked.
fan,
It's just that you
it's not
guys
about
choked. I
that.
don't care.
It's not
No,
even
no, no,
about
no.
Oregon State. It's not even about that matchup. It's not about the Civil War whatsoever. It's not about that whatsoever. It's about when they are ranked against other Pac-12 teams, they show
They're
up.
never ranked. They're never ranked.
They're going to be ranked once they play Colorado. They play San Jose State season opener. Dub.
Okay, I don't
UC
need to hear
Davis,
Oregon State.
dub.
I don't
San
care.
Diego
I don't
State,
care.
dub. Washington
I don't
State,
care.
dub. Utah in Oregon
Oh.
State could be a dub. At Cal, dub. UCLA at home also could be a dub. Hell, they could be undefeated. They could be undefeated, damn near.
Oregon State?
Yeah. They're
Oregon
only
State's not beating.
the two tough
No.
matchups they have are Utah and UCLA before the Colorado game. And they're both at home.
I don't anymore.
I think Oregon
Colorado's
State
gonna
wins that game. I think Oregon State wins that game.
Colorado's gonna be, if you a 4-5 record heading into Arizona. I think that they'll beat Arizona at home. Arizona lost a few wide receivers. they're a solid team. They have a decent quarterback. I just think at home at Colorado, they'll get to 5-5.
Yeah.
But then they have to go to Washington State. Never an easy place to play.
Nope.
I think that they'll
Wazoo.
Wazoo the Cajun. I
Wazoo.
think they'll lose that game, and then they got to go to Utah, and that's just an L. I mean, I don't even want to hear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
That's
they
a
end their
guaranteed
season on
L.
back-to-back L's.
So in my opinion,
3-win
next
season.
year, next year, in my opinion, I think that Deion Sanders will lead Colorado to a 5-7 record. I think that they are going to lose to TCU, beat Nebraska, beat Colorado State, then lose at Oregon, lose to USC at home, lose at Arizona State, beat Stanford at home, then lose at UCLA, then beat Oregon State at home, beat Arizona at home, and have some momentum. But then it's going to be quickly, the momentum's quickly going to go
In
away, and they're
6
going to lose
days.
at what in 6 days, and they're going to lose at Washington State and at Utah. So I feel like they're going to end the year 5-7, maybe 4-8. I could see 4-8. They might not beat Oregon State, but I think 4-8, 5-7. If they have a great year, maybe 6-6. But I think Colorado next year has their work cut out for them because
Uh-huh.
the Pac-12 is very strong next year. They have a ton of good quarterbacks in the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Their schedule is a brutal schedule, and I feel like in 2024 they're gonna have it easier because UCLA and USC are both gonna leave the Pac-12. They have time to develop their quarterback, to develop their system, to have Deion put a system in place in Colorado. I feel like they'll be better. They'll be able to acquire more talent. So I feel like 2024 is the year for Colorado to maybe get an 8-win, 9-win year. But I think next year they're gonna stick around 500, probably
Mhm.
be under that, probably 4-8, 5-7.
I mean, say that they do finish 5-7 this year. Do
Yeah,
they get a bowl game? Do you think
maybe
Colorado would get a bowl
they
game
might
for
get a
that?
bowl game if there's not enough 6-6 teams. But I feel like that'll be a good accomplishment to get to 5-7 this year after having a 1-11 team last year with the schedule that they have right now. If they win
Yeah.
5 games this year, I'll be impressed. I mean that is a brutal schedule. They had a terrible team last year. Deion Sanders is a good coach. I like his attitude. I like his persona. I like the attitude he's bringing to the program. I like the program that he's going to build. I just
Mhm.
think that to tell him to flip a program in 1 year without the resources of like a USC or Alabama, Georgia, I just think that it's gonna be harder for him to just totally change it in 1 year. But I think he'll make some progress. I feel like 2024 is the year for the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we don't know what the schedule is for them next year, but
Yeah,
odds are it'll probably be as difficult as it is this year. But,
yeah,
excluding teams like UCLA and USC because they're not going to be there, but still having Oregon, Oregon State, Utah, Washington, maybe throw
yeah.
Washington State into the mix just because
And
they're
who
pretty
knows if
consistent.
any teams are gonna get added to the Pac-12? So no one really knows. It's kind
I'd
of
like to
all up in
imagine
air.
that some Mountain West teams will get
Yeah,
added to the Pac-12.
maybe Boise State, maybe
Fresno
BYU,
State,
San Diego State. I mean, just some random teams, random
Fresno
teams.
State,
Fresno
as they
State.
won
Okay,
the
some
Mountain Wet like hello.
Yeah, but they lost. They're going to lose their quarterback. So whatever. Fresno State maybe, but we'll see. We'll see what Colorado does. We like the direction they're headed, but we don't know how they're going to do this year. But then
Yeah.
moving on, we're done with football for now. Now we're moving into the other kind of football,
The real
soccer,
football.
the real football, worldwide football, and just
Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305.
some crazy news today. So it comes out that Juventus has not been keeping their books accurately, and they've been basically committing fraud with how much money they're giving um to transfers and just the way they're paying their players. And now they've lost 15 points in Serie A. They're down to I think 10th place in the league. And I just feel like it's crazy. I mean, I've never really seen this where like a team I mean, we usually watch American sports. We have, of course watch soccer, but and football, but we never have. I don't think I've ever seen a team get penalized for mismanaging their money and actually be penalized in the standings. Like I've never seen like an MLB team sign a player and not be able to afford him, and then like have to like concede a few games in the standings. Like I've never seen that. So I feel like they still can appeal it. It's not finalized yet, but I feel like it's crazy. I mean, that's kind of pathetic for Juventus to like have to go drop down to 10th place. They were third in Serie A. Now they're dropped down to 10th place just because they were mismanaging their money and they were
Hmm.
basically committing fraud. So that's crazy to me. I don't know what you think
Yeah.
about it, but
I mean, like I guess the punishment does fit the crime. It's just
yeah,
odd because we've never seen anything like this,
yeah,
Like
I've
this
never
is
seen
kind of
anything
the
like that.
first time that I've ever seen anything like this. But Yeah, to be like, 10 points behind Napoli, who are the Italian league leaders, to then go drop all the way to 10th, like you say, they now have like what is it, like 12 or 22 points?
Yeah, they were before today, they were at 37 points. They were 10 points behind Napoli, who's in the league lead at 47 points. They were 1 point behind AC Milan for second place, and they were tied with Inter for third place. And now they've dropped to 10th place. They're at 22 points. They're right behind Fiorentina, and they're right above Bologna. But I think that it's just I've never seen anything like this in just in sports, like to like get penalized in like your performance based on mismanaging your money. I mean, I think it's a pretty severe punishment. It's probably rightfully deserved because there's been a lot of drama at Juventus the last few years. They had Ronaldo, then he left, and then they kind of have been in shambles. They had a bad year last year. They've been struggling in the Champions League. I mean, they were having a decent year this year. They weren't bad. They were, again, we said, in the top three, but um yeah, that's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, but I feel like it's
It's just like, it's just like it like it's just like it's never happened. So to be like, oh,
yeah,
this is not a fair punishment, you just like
you don't
maybe it
know
makes
because like
sense. Like 15 points
yeah,
is a lot. Like a
yeah,
lot,
that's a lot.
especially when you're
That's
in
five
third.
wins. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
5 wins to drop from third to 10th. I mean, it's gonna be hard for them. I don't know where they're gonna finish this year. I mean, they're clearly better than the teams that they're surrounded by now, but I mean, they probably will finish maybe top 7, 6, 7. But to be now, they're like they have 22 points. They're 12 points behind sixth place. So
Hmm.
now they're probably not going to finish. They're not going to finish in the Champions League. Probably they're not going to finish in the Europa League. They're not going to finish in the next one. I forgot what it's called, but they're not going to finish in any. I don't think they're going to get into any European competitions. And it's just crazy because they were kind of having like what some would say like a bounce back year from last year. I mean, last year they kind of underperformed what everyone thought that they could at being Juventus, but now
Hmm.
they're just seem completely out of it. And yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna appeal it apparently and
Yeah,
try and get it reversed, but those kinds of things take time, I'll be honest.
yeah,
So to
yeah,
get it done by the time they need it done, I don't think it's gonna
yeah.
happen. But interesting stuff going on. Kids, whenever you're balancing books, make sure you're writing down the right numbers, or you will get 15 points taken off. Remember that.
Yeah,
Wise words of wisdom here.
yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna do it for us and episode 20. Make sure to follow us on social media, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram at Dubs Only Sports. And then you can catch full episodes on YouTube and Spotify. Just type in Dubs Only Sports in the search bar. You'll be able to find us. Subscribe, follow those. Um, yeah, that's basically it. We are already excited for the college football season next year. We're excited for the draft, and we don't know what's going to happen with Juventus. So stick around for that. We'll
Yeah.
have updates. We'll have the news for you. Before I end this episode, I would just like to point out UCLA's Achilles heel is Arizona. They
That's so
play.
not true. That is not true. That is not true. We win in Arizona all the time. I don't care what you say. Anyone
We'll
says
see you guys
we
in the next
own
one. We'll see
we
you guys in the next
we
one.
own
Peace out,
Arizona. I
guys.
want to hear
Peace
this.
out.